man, I have so many beefs with feminism. But you know what perhaps is the one that I find sort of darkest and saddest? And this is, I'm sure there will be someone who thinks this is me being benevolently sexist. But I think it's that essentially it's been decided that societally, culturally, economically, politically, or whatever, the standard that women and girls should aspire to in everything is the male standard. So all of these things, the goal of them is for women to be more like men. Okay, so women have certain bodily functions, menstrual cycles, capacity to get pregnant, breastfeeding. It's like all of this stuff is a curse. And we need to use technology and medical interventions and all of these things down to killing your own child so that you can compete with men, right? Even when people talk about the quote unquote gender pay gap, which everyone knows has been debunked for decades, but even bringing that up, I'm like, why is the measure how much money you make? What about, I mean, do people not realize actually most fathers would like to have more free time and they'd like to spend more time with the children? It's like, what about time? What about who spends the money versus who earns it? Why is it just, males compete on lots of different dimensions. How strong are you? How much money do you make? How much cool stuff? How much resources can you gather and whatever? Women generally compete in different ways, but it's just like, no, this male standard is the thing that you need to aspire towards. If a young woman is like, hey, actually, I want to get married and I want to have a lot of children, and those are kind of my metrics, and I want to raise great children and a family. Even non-feminists or people who wouldn't consider themselves feminists often still look like, wait, is that it? Or is there
down on it?
Yeah. Is what about a job? What about a career? What about all these other things? Or just little things people say. Like when people say that stay-at-home mothers don't work, I laugh in their face.
I know. I hate that.
A woman will be like,
what does that even mean?
I'm a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids. Yeah. And you're like, oh, so you don't work? And it's like,
what do you do?
Yeah.
It's like, what do I do? I raise children. I serve my community. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
But it means that in people's brains, they've just associated even the word work with working for some company, having a boss, and earning
a paycheck.
Earning a paycheck in that sense. Whereas work, historically, that could mean going out and hunting or gathering or looking after your land, looking after your household. Work isn't just the thing that you do for money. So it seems that in our whole generation and younger ones, and perhaps the generation above us, there's just been this perversion of aspiration, and it's this homogenization of the genders where you just don't really want men and women to exist as categories. This borders into the whole trans thing, and it's just this sort of gray mush of interchangeable cogs. I think the coolest thing about women is that they're not men. The greatest thing
for a man who's like looking for a woman, that's like the number one thing. You're not a man. That's like the first step,
So it's like, why are you the things that?
And I think it's great that men are not women. Like my husband is a man, and I'm so happy. He's a manly man. And it's just, I was just thinking about Canada, like that crazy story about they sticking a tampon dispenser in the high school boys' bathroom.
Do you know the
Canada.
first time I saw that? The first time I saw that was the first time I came to California.
You saw a tampon dispenser
in 2019.
Oh my gosh.
I got invited to Facebook headquarters in 2019. First time I was ever in California. And I went to the men's bathroom, and there were female hygiene products, tampons, pads, all that in the male bathroom. Because it's not just like
women trying to be like men. Then it comes women wanting men to be women. Or women like thinking we should give what women get to men.
Yes.
So it's all messed up. It's all upside down. It's just like, it's all insanity. I think what you're saying, though, is such a good point, that the core of it is rejecting the category, that there are men and there are women, and God made that way. Natural law is very clear. That doesn't mean there aren't, genetic deficiencies or aberrations that can happen, like, well, I have 2 X's and a Y chromosome. Okay, but that's an aberration of the initial design of XYXX, and that doesn't mean you're less human or you're less valuable. It just means this is a genetic condition you have, right? And that's something, or you have this, a mental health issue that you're struggling with about gender dysphoria and you need treatment and love and care, right? That doesn't mean you're less human or less valuable, but it also doesn't mean you were born in the wrong body. This is your body, and your body is always good. It's a good thing that you have the body you have. So that's the real body positive movement, right? That's the real body positive movement of saying embrace your sex.
Yes.
Embrace the way you're made. So, and I think the sexual differences are, that's obviously the way we continue humanity.
It's good. It's good. People complain about it. I'm like, this is good, guys. We have, it's not by accident that half of the people are female and half of the people are male, because it means when you put that together, we have the full picture. There are things that I cannot do and I cannot experience, and I cannot propagate the species alone. A woman, there are things that a woman cannot do and is not capable of, and she also alone cannot perpetuate our species. It's not some accident that we're different. You just see it everywhere. I find like once you're attuned to it, you see it everywhere. Even when there's all these diversity conversations and equity conversations about, oh, look in this organization, 80% of the executives are male and only 20% are female. We need to fix this. I'm like, so why? What's wrong? What's wrong with that? What's fundamentally wrong with that? Is that reducing the performance of the company? Are you making less money from it? Is there a discriminatory law saying a woman cannot be there?
You can make those distinctions based on people's height.
Of course.
Or their perceived attractiveness or their perceived strength. I mean, you can come up with so many categories for why you think people should have access to the boardroom or whatever, based not just on sex. So we're obsessed with sex, I think, to some degree.
Yeah, sex, race, and sexuality.
Yeah, sex, race, and sexuality. But here's the thing. What is the core difference between a man and a woman? A woman can be a mother only, and a man can be a father only. Intellectually, emotionally, there is a spectrum. It's not like men are all smarter than women and women are all more emotionally intelligent than men. There's going to be some men who are very emotionally intelligent and some women who are super good at science. So you're going to see this in the world of the sexes. But what you will never see is a man that can give birth to a baby and a woman that can impregnate a man. Like, you don't
Lila,
see that,
what I've heard,
that's the truth.
Even I check the emojis available on my phone.
But the point, the point there is then, if that, it's like, well, how do we discover how to be fully a woman and fully alive as a woman and in our femininity, and men in their masculinity? And I think it comes back to the core of fatherhood and motherhood.
Yes.
And if you base your sort of identity, maybe you're not a father or mother biologically yet, maybe you never will be, but you're called as a mature adult to be a mother or a father-like figure to others and serve others in a society. I think if that becomes the core of how you see your masculinity or your femininity, it orders the whole thing of, what is my strength for?
Yes.
What is my compassion for? What is my desire to nurture for? And then it's about other people and service. And then all these other questions about how to be a woman, how to be a man, competition, the kind of like, a lot of them resolve themselves. And so that's my hope, is that if we can go back to those cores of celebrating what's unique about women and men and collaborating together to raise the next generation biologically and spiritually, as well as we urge each other on to greatness, then we'll have a great, healthy society.